Hey folks, MasakoX here. If you're thinking that this is a discussion which is practically similar to my What If Goku Never Married Bulma mini-series, think again. We're upping the ante with this. At least in that version, Goku is around. It's very hard to imagine this series without the character around having any impact on it, right? If you look a little bit deeper, you can find out that there is quite a lot of stuff happening outside of Goku's general influence. For the first arc, the characters there like Bulma, Yamcha and Oolong were the ones carrying the narrative as it bumbled around for the first arc. Only later did Goku rise to the occasion properly, because otherwise he was a relatively blank slate. Quite a lot of stuff tends to revolve around the Saiyan anyway and his family. But what would happen if this character never existed? And I'm not just talking about him never coming to Earth, we're going further than that. But wait, I hear you say, how can you tell a Dragon Ball story without Goku in it, in a way that would not end us playing the sound? Well, we feel like we can at least try and discuss what Dragon Ball could be like without the main character Goku. After all, the Triple T are experimenting themselves with limiting Goku's impact in the story with Superhero. He's only in the movie for 10 minutes of screen time, and even then it's away from the action. Why not take it further? And the thing is that we cannot simply start from the regular Dragon Ball starting point of age 750. We should take a look at the times before it even started for contextual preference, and add Bardock into the mix, because yes, he's still around. And to be honest, the whole reason as to why Goku may never exist might be simply because, in this timeline, Bardock simply never got around to meeting Gine and, getting busy. Yes, in this case there is sadly not just no Goku, but no Raditz. Shocking, I know, but gotta roll with it. This could also mean that he never gets the prophecy of his son meeting and ending Frieza in the future. I still think though that Bardock would die in the same way, fighting against Frieza, just without the whole prophecy thing giving him the main impetus to actually do it. He is mainly standing against Frieza because, well, he feels like he should, of his own volition, a sheer act of defiance, but that would leave Nappa and Vegeta as merely a duo, because Raditz isn't around to be the dog's body. The last two Saiyans in existence, as far as the series lore goes. We're not talking about movies. But now we can go back to Earth. Who would be the new protagonist of the story? Well, I mean, it's quite easy really. Our other lead character for that first Dragon Ball arc was kept intact. Nothing really changed about her, because it's Bulma. Wait, Masako, this is like your Goku never meeting Bulma story. Because Bulma carried that. Well, no, you see, because there is no moment when Raditz shows up and everything goes to pot. Earth didn't matter to Frieza, at least at that time, and it never really generated speculation on his part, you see. So there is a difference here, at least at this particular juncture. But Bulma here starts from a very selfish position as lead character. Not that Goku isn't selfish himself, but there is a lovable simplicity about him that kind of mitigates the selfishness. But Bulma though, oh, she's a totally selfish diva here, albeit very smart. I mean, you gotta admit that Bulma right at the beginning wasn't wholly likable. But how are we going to deal with that? As the first couple of episodes would see Bulma trying out underhanded tactics to get the 4-star Dragon Ball not from Goku, but in this case Grandpa Gohan. And Gohan would be the perfect character to send Bulma off on her journey for the Dragon Balls, teaching her a little bit about humility, trying to swindle her at every turn because like, you can't get the Dragon Ball yet, making her rethink her wish for strawberries or boyfriends. If we have Bulma remain selfish throughout the entire thing, there would be no compelling story, no journey. We need her to have some kind of change resulting from all of this at the end of it. And Gohan's calm and placid nature would be the best thing to make her see sense. Perhaps stuff her with humble pie for good measure. Of course, it would not change her completely. After all, this would be only the start of her arc. But with this way of going about things at the beginning, she would at least be able to make the first steps towards being a well-rounded protagonist. After that, she would combine forces with the likes of Oolong and also Yamcha and Puar. It would be kinda funny to see Yamcha being scared of her, but also having a crush. So there's sort of this duality going on, which would end in him rescuing the group from Pilaf's gang, and thusly overcoming his fears for good through sheer brute strength, confrontation. He overcomes his fears through adversity. Instead of having him run away all the time, he would have no choice but to take on his weakness directly. There you go. And as for Pilaf, he would actually win. What? But despite the storytellers having given him the Dragon Balls, it wouldn't be an easy ride. No. His wish would quickly turn against him, as he would become the primary target for the Red Ribbon Army, not Goku, because he doesn't exist. Because Pilaf was the one to discover the Dragon Balls and promptly keep on searching for them to get more wishes as time passed. Why wouldn't the Red Ribbon Army go after them? The Capture Corps lot wouldn't really register with Commander Red because they didn't actually have the Dragon Balls. As a result, within the army getting their act together, Pilaf's empire would be overthrown within days. All this being a precious lesson for our heroes as well. Now they would be motivated to act by seeing the true horrors of the army on full display when they wasted Pilaf, and would be more willing, therefore, to find the Dragon Balls again, to save the world from the army. Yamcha would also train with Master Roshi much earlier than he did so in the original, where he would become friendly rivals with Krillin, and Launch would also join the main fighting party as well. Meanwhile, Bulma would be travelling around the world, constantly trying to find the Dragon Balls before the army does. Thankfully, since she is but one little girl, albeit with a much more advanced Dragon Ball radar, but the Red Ribbon Army don't know that yet, she could get about places much more stealthily. The army never expecting one teenager to undermine them entirely, because the hubris with Commander Red, it's immense. When she would eventually get into some trouble, she would be aided by her friends, with Yamcha's and Krillin's newfound strength, thanks to Roshi, being more than enough to lead the charge against the Red Ribbons. Now, we would make the conflict with the Red Ribbon Army much more of a joint effort, rather than it being simply Yamcha or Krillin taking them all down to their HQ by themselves, much like what Goku did in the original. Oh, not forgetting Muscle Tower. It would be a regular sort of conflict, with Tal serving as the final boss here for the fighters, and Bulma foiling Commander Red's plans herself with the help of Pilaf, keen to put an end to the folks who had decimated his glorious empire. Here, Bulma and Pilaf would put their differences aside, unifying themselves much more early than in the original, because they sort of did that with Super, because Pilaf now works for Bulma, because he is kind of clever, albeit a bit naive. Finally, the wish would be used to restore those who had fallen against the army. Jiro would probably be taken out in the process as well, as the heroes would be a little bit more methodical with the whole thing of stopping the Red Ribbons altogether, because Goku, he just sort of went in there ham-fistedly. Thusly, no Android Saga in the future, at least as far as we know. After this battle, some more peaceful times are to be had, as our heroes would prepare for the tournament. Yes, we did skip the 21st one, where Yamcha would develop another important rivalry with Tenshinhan, him wanting to avenge his idol mercenary Tao. Tenshinhan would probably still win the tournament, but he would turn against Shen and his idol Tao anyway, and join the heroes, only to learn about the dire news of Krillin dying. Now, for the next saga, we would probably have Tenshinhan and Yamcha actively teaming up here, going against King Piccolo, learning to work together as a duo and really establishing their friendship. In the end, they would prevail. King Piccolo would have spat out an egg, but then the two of them would decide to try and follow that egg where it landed and mentor this new being, instead of leaving it to its own devices altogether. But of course, there are going to be a lot of shenanigans involved, which would ensue from this very idea, and the youngling would one day escape their clutches, starting to train on their own. He would return one day at the 23rd tournament to get his revenge on Tenshinhan and Yamcha, with Yamcha being the one to beat Piccolo Jr. in the finale, and just like Goku, letting him live. Can you see where we're going here? In this timeline, Yamcha is the MVP. Good for him. Kami here would be potentially interested in taking Yamcha as his student, since he was the one to put to bed Kami's greatest challenger. The former bandit would have chosen Tenshinhan instead to be nominated because he's his best friend and more suited to the gig, and become the Guardian's prized pupil. Now the point of all of this is this could genuinely be the end of the story. After all of this, Dragon Ball could naturally end. What's obviously left to do? Yamcha and Bulma have a kid named Buller, and that's all we need to know, yeah? After all, there's no Jiro, there's no Raditz, what could be left to talk about, really? In this story, the most exciting final boss could actually well be Frieza. Wait, you said that Earth wouldn't be in Frieza's field of vision. Why would it be now? Well, how do we even add Frieza to the story naturally without Saiyans bringing the fight to said planet? Well, really simply, actually, because after some years had passed, more than in the original time skip between Dragon Ball and Z, we're talking like, maybe 10 plus years, Piccolo would have become a frenemy kind of character for the group. Better than in the Raditz saga, but not quite as chummy as post-fusion with Nail. Everyone would still be training and active throughout all of this time, and Bulma would probably be about 8 or 9 years old here before things got spicy. That's when the scout party for Frieza would come along, purely by happenstance. It seems here like the Emperor had done a little bit of digging. The most logical reasoning for him getting involved with Earth now is due to some random scouts trying to impress their boss by digging into the most remote and backwater parts of his empire in North Galaxy. When they found Earth, they struck gold. They learned about those mysterious wish-granting orbs, and when probing for more intel, a certain galactic patroller there to visit Bulma and Tights would have accidentally spilled the beans to them about there being a set of Dragon Balls on Earth. It wasn't just a legend. That and Earth being a actually really nice bit of real estate when they took a closer look at it. If you really think about it, the Frieza Force would have gone for Earth at some point, even without the events of DBZ. It's sort of a miracle that it took them so long. But if the right scout got bored, well, there you go. So, it would end with this Dragon team barely beating the scout party, and Tenshinhan Yamcha dying, landing at King Kai's place for his special training, as they would expect a bigger invading force to be following those guys up. Now, here's where things get interesting, because here is where King Kai would tell them that, indeed, more invaders were coming. They were right to be skeptical. One scouting party isn't enough to get Frieza's personal interest, but more of them? Maybe. Frieza here would be the mysterious villain in the shadows, sending Kui as the first big bad proper, but unbeknownst to him and them, Vegeta and Nappa would also be trying to get to Earth, tempted by the Dragon Balls when they found out. Meanwhile, Piccolo would be the one to search for answers about his roots and the whole Namekian connection. Kami would suggest that he go into space, using his old vessel. Maybe that could help. Piccolo would actually get to Namek, get his potential unlocked, train with Nail, and return to Earth just in time to do some significant damage to the bad guys. Just as Tenshinhan and Yamcha would have defeated Kui, Vegeta and Nappa would finish them off, trying to get the Dragon Balls for themselves. When everything seems lost and Vegeta and Nappa are about to prevail, it would be Piccolo who comes in and defeats the Saiyans. Vegeta, kind of shocked by the Namekian strength, would suggest some kind of temporary truce, all because they have a common enemy, Frieza. Of course, at this point in the story, he and Nappa would also plan to double-cross them too. Vegeta would play the role of the victim, saying that it's all because of Frieza that he acts the way he does, and the one who will keep sending more and more people after them and Earth because he wants the Dragon Balls. He will stop at nothing. But unlike Vegeta, we would hope that our heroes would actually decide to start a resistance against Frieza, starting from Earth and using Jarko, through Tights of course, to start gathering allies from further planets against the Galactic Emperor. For the patrol, this would be the best chance to actually get rid of him. Frieza would hate this, as this greater rebellion would just get on his nerves and actually start doing some harm to the Empire. He would have no choice but to go to Earth personally, get the Dragon Balls, kill off every single one of those Earthlings, and yeah, then just put the planet on the market, because just blowing the planet up, oh, that wouldn't be satisfying. Vegeta and Nappa would fight for the Earthlings this time, actually starting to believe in the resistance. In the climactic moment when all seems to be lost, it would turn out that Kami and Piccolo had fused into the nameless Namekian, not only getting rid of Frieza's prize for good, but also being strong enough, even without Nail in the equation, because he would probably be insanely powerful with his potential unlocked. Side note, Nail and Piccolo, they trained together but they didn't fuse. They would destroy the evil Emperor. After all was said and done, he would fly for Namek once more, to use their Dragon Balls to revive the victims of Frieza and bring back Dende, whom he befriended during his time there, to become the new Guardian of Earth. Bulma would become the ambassador for Earth with the Galactic Patrol, and Earth itself would become a very important planet in the history of the Dragon universe for its role in the resistance against Frieza. Now, there is a certain loose end left that could be used for more stories, but it all depends on how much you guys like this first outing thus far. Note that some of the power levels are adjusted here just so that means we can have a story instead of merely relying on, and then Frieza killed them all. But we hope you guys could forgive us for this in this case. Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later!